Hi friends, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to talk about my favorite books of 2024. So I read 86 books this year. So I have about 23 faves. I don't have all of them out here with me. Some of them are just too massive to like bring all of them out here. Some of them I have like condensed into like as a favorite series versus like just one of the books in the series. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about them, talk about what I loved, talk about would I still give this a 5-star if I had read it like now versus when I did read it. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm gonna start with the beginning of the year and work my way to now. My first 5-star read of the year was Culty by Mariana Zapata. I absolutely love this book. I remember staying up late to finish it because I absolutely just needed to get through the slow burn. I was so excited to just finally get to like, there was like tension of them just like looking at each other. And I was like, this is what I like, trust me, like I'll read like a quick spicy book, but like there's just it's so rewarding to get through a slow burn. And Mariana Zapata really did call this a slow burn because I don't think anything happened until like 96% of the way through. And it was a long book. I think her name was Sal. I just really liked her character. I thought she was I really appreciated her backstory, and then I really just like loved Culty because I love a grumpy man. But yeah, that was my first 5. I absolutely loved it. It was so good. So my next 5-star read was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Now, this is definitely one of those books that like if I read it now, would I still give it a 5? Maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't give it a 5. It was definitely like a lot of excitement. Like this was beginning of the year. I think I read this in February, and I don't know. I don't know, guys. I would give this, I think if I read this now, I'd give it like a 4, maybe. I wouldn't give it a full 5-star. Did I enjoy the romance? Kind of. I like Ali Hazelwood's writing. That kind of gets me through. She's always got like a weird quirk in there. Like I think she really likes to eat peanut butter, something like that. I thought that was funny. I do love that she's not like small and dainty. She's like as tall as him because she's a vampire. So that's fun. I did like the fantasy element. If you haven't read Bride and you're interested in reading an Ali Hazelwood book, I wouldn't start with this one unless you have read Omegaverse stuff. If you haven't read Omegaverse, don't pick this up. If you don't know what Omegaverse is, don't just like go into this blind. Like look it up, maybe have safe search on and look it up, and then, you know, then you can decide if you want to read this. I did really like it though. It was fun. It did the job. All right, so my next read was Heartless by Elsie Silver. This was a reread. I read it in 2023 and I just needed something to listen to while I was like commuting. So I gave this a listen. I listened to it over the course of a couple days and I absolutely love it. It's not my favorite like Chestnut Spring or Elsie Silver book, but my favorite is Reckless. I haven't reread it. I really want to get to a reread of it because I absolutely loved it. My friend was texting me and she's like, I can't believe I waited so long to read this. And I'm like, yeah, I can't believe it either because it's so good. Theo is just like my favorite Chestnut Springs guy. But yeah, so that was just a reread. Not gonna get too into it. I would still give it another 5-star. So the next 5-star read was Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. If you haven't been told to read Red Rising, I can't believe it took you to getting to my video to hear that suggestion because everybody recommends this book or this series, and for good reason. This book is amazing. I absolutely love the Red Rising trilogy. This book just destroyed me in such a good way. The ending, I don't go a week without thinking about this ending. I had to stop listening to the audiobook and physically read it because I was crying having somebody read it to me. But it's just phenomenal. I absolutely adore it. And I can't give that much detail because this is the second book in a series and there's so much that goes on. But for Red Rising, everyone says it's Hunger Games in space. Very valid. Once you get to this book, it definitely elevates it. Like the world, the scope gets bigger because you're not just at an academy anymore. Like you're in the world. And that's where this picks up. I totally recommend reading this if you haven't. It's so sci-fi. Like there's so much testosterone in this series. But I promise you, you will love it. Like, it's sci-fi, so you might get confused, and that's okay. It's okay if you get confused. What I did is when I finished the book, I, like, read a summary. I was like, okay, that checks out. I remember all that happening. So maybe do the same. I loved it though. Still so amazing. My next 5-star read was Funny Story by Emily Henry. I think this is my favorite Emily Henry, or okay, this isn't my favorite Emily Henry book, but Miles is my favorite Emily Henry man. I think that Book Lovers still tops it, for sure. 1000% I think Book Lovers is better, like book-wise in whole. But like when it comes to like men, Miles is like my number one. I absolutely loved their chemistry. I loved all of it. I love just like, it's a funny story, like how we met. It's just so good. Like, it's so good. If you love Emily Henry, pick it up. You know that she's good because she's still releasing hardbacks. Romance book and a hardback, it doesn't happen often. So you know it's good. I genuinely recommend picking this up. If you don't want to pick up Funny Story, maybe, I don't know, you've heard other people that you like say they don't really like it, I would pick up Beach Read because it's so good. It's so good. I love Beach Read, but you know, this is my favorite. This is one of my favorites of the year. I would so 1000% give this a 5-star if I read it again because it's so good. So the next book that I read that I gave a 5 was The Goal by Elle Kennedy. And I know that it might seem like I have a little bit of beef with Elle Kennedy, and I do. I truly do. But I can't knock when I read a good book, and I loved this book. I don't know what about it really got me. I do know that people complain that this is a surprise pregnancy. It's not. It really isn't, because it says it on the back of the book that she's a soon-to-be mother. Like, you know it's gonna happen. I think I just absolutely love Tucker's, like, him as a main character. Sabrina, I really loved her. I loved every single thing about these characters, and I really did feel like they would work out even after the book ended. That even if we weren't looking at this just through the lens of like just the pages of this book, I still think they would be together afterwards. And I, you know, it definitely does mean something to me that they would still be together. So I think I would still give that a 5, to be honest. So my next 5-star read is Volume 3 of Heartstopper. I don't know what it is about Volume 3, but like I will pick this up and I will just like look through it, flip through it, because I absolutely loved it. Something about the Paris trip and just seeing their relationship evolve and the decisions that they make and all of it, I really like it. I also really liked watching season 2 of Heartstopper. I mean, as much as season 1 is so good, season 2 is really good. So the next thing I read that was a 5-star, and I'm just gonna put it all together, is the Hunger Games series. Now, I didn't rate this a 5, but I rated Catching Fire and Mockingjay a 5, so I'm just gonna put it all together as a 5-star series. I read this book when I was a teenager when it came out, and then even a tween. I read this when it came out, and then I watched the movie, and then I didn't pick it up. I didn't pick it up again. And then I reread The Hunger Games, and then I read Catching Fire and Mockingjay, and then I watched the movies, and I was like, oh, I can see why this is iconic. I absolutely loved it. I feel like I can talk about things because it's been out for so long, and it's like such a topic of conversation even now. I didn't really appreciate that like she kind of had to pick a man. I didn't like that at all. I think that she clearly didn't really think about them that way either. I don't think that she really thought about Gale or Peeta that way. I think that she genuinely was like, I need to survive and that's all I'm working towards. I want to protect myself, I want to protect my family, and that's it. So, you know, having her like at the whole world and everything trying to like form a love story for her, and even both of them kind of being like, well, who do you like what's going on? And she's like, I literally don't think about this is not where my mind's at. I'm thinking about how we can survive and like what's best for me and my family. So I really appreciated that, and I didn't appreciate the fact that it was pushed on her. Either way, it was still such a good story. It still holds up. I definitely, if you haven't read The Hunger Games, I recommend you read it. I think it is a banned book also, so I wonder why this is banned. You tell me. I wonder why it's banned. I wonder if anybody knows why this is banned. Who's banning these books? And I wonder if it has anything to do with the subject matter about, you know, going against your oppressors. The next thing that I'm gonna put in one umbrella category is Spy Family. So I read Spy Family Volume 1 and I gave it a 5. And then I read 1, 2, 4, 8, 11, and 12, and they were all 5 stars. This is the most recent one that's come out. I absolutely loved this volume. It was so good. There is so much spy action in here. Now, the other ones were kind of like, oh, like, we know it's Twilight. He's just gonna, you know, he's gonna find his way through the situation. It's how it always happens. This is like, okay, how is he gonna get out of the situation? Like, this is actually like, it's getting really good. And I recommend that you pick it up if you haven't. It's pretty, I think it's like rated for teens, but I think it's pretty good. I don't really think that there's anything too inappropriate in here. I think that anybody could read this. and watch the anime if you haven't watched it. It's so good. All right, so the next book that I gave a 5 was The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. We already know. I absolutely love this series. It is so good that I don't know if I have words to describe how much I love it. So this book is about Kaladin, Shallan, Dalinar, and I would say Adolin and Szeth. So this book opens up and it's insane. So it opens up with a prelude and then a prologue. I can understand that can be overwhelming, but I promise you, you can get through it and you will understand. There are some interludes in here. You might not understand them right away. That's okay. Just keep reading. Just make a note of them. This book is just absolutely incredible. The writing is so good. It gets you so hooked. I don't ever feel like in all of these pages that there was a slow point. I genuinely was into it the whole time. Really good fantasy series. It kind of borders on like sci-fi, but like it's so good. The magic system is amazing. I will be reading this book and I will look out into the world and I'm like, I'm so sad that I'm not living in a world that has radiance in it. So thank you, Brandon Sanderson, for that. Besides Spy Family, the other book that I read that was a 5 was The Hero of Ages, which is Mistborn book 3 in the First Era. I absolutely loved this book. After reading all of The Well of Ascension, and there's so much political intrigue in The Well of Ascension, after reading that book and getting into The Hero of Ages, it is so worth it. The payoff is incredible. I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. I love the ending. I love the epigraphs. I love all of it. It's just so good, and I can't say much because it's the 3rd book in a series. It's the final book in that trilogy, so I can't say much, but it's so good. I genuinely recommend picking up Mistborn. It is such a good like starting off point for the Cosmere. I recommend you read it. It is so good. So the next book that I'm going to talk about is The Emperor's Soul by Brandon Sanderson. I love this book. This is so amazing. So this book is less than 300 pages. It is a little novella, and you can start off with this book. You don't have to read anything else to understand this. So this book is about Shay, and she has a kind of magic that's called forgery. She kind of can like rewrite the history of objects. So an example in the book is like there's a window that's broken, and you can tell that it's been repaired with like stained glass. She can rewrite the history of this so that it was never broken. She gets arrested, and they kind of recruit her to do the same thing, but to the Emperor's Soul. And that's why it's called The Emperor's Soul. And we follow her. It's kind of split up by like day 70 or day whatever versus like chapters. It's so good. It's amazing. This takes place on the same planet that Elantris takes place. So that's the planet Cell. They're not connected. Just thought I'd throw that in there. So good. Use your Spotify hours if you have them. It's like 4 hours. It's amazing. I absolutely love this book. It's probably my favorite that I've read all year. So my next book is The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. Now this is book 3 in Mistborn Era 2. So I don't have much to say about it. I just know that we get some crazy stuff going on in this book. The ending is crazy. The reveal is wild. And I just really enjoyed it. I don't have much to say because they're going to be spoiling like a lot of stuff. So I can't say much. I just really enjoyed this. I really did like Mistborn Era 2. I know a lot of people don't really have the same opinion. I really do like it. I like the humor. I like the change of pace. I like that we're not following another Mistborn. We're following 2 different kinds of Allomancers, and I just really enjoyed that. I also really like Saris. I think she's such a good character, and I can relate to her a lot, so I also enjoyed it for that. Marasay, I really like her as well, so yeah. Good book. I really liked it. I also wanted to talk about Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, and Rhythm of War. So I'm not going to go in too much depth because, again, they're like books in a series, so I can't really talk too much about them. But I will say that Words of Radiance is probably the best book that Brandon Sanderson has ever written, IMO, of the ones that I've read, which I've read a lot of them. I would say that's the best book he's ever written. Words of Radiance is just amazing. Every flashback you get, I was going to say your ROI on it. Whatever, you really get you get a return on it. I don't know, you're getting a return on your time, I guess. I don't know how to say it. Like, it's I keep just thinking ROI. It's not it. Your return on your investment. It's so satisfying. Every reveal is so satisfying. He'll like put something in, and it won't be too long before you find out what's really happening, and each little thing is just, it's so good. It's so good. The writing is so good. There's never a low in Words of Radiance. It is my favorite book. There's a scene in there that just, it's like, oh my god, I can't even say it because it's a spoiler, but I absolutely love it. I recommend you read Words of Radiance after you read Way of Kings. Like, immediately, like, jump into it. It's so good. And then I want to talk about Oathbringer. Oathbringer is my favorite book in the Stormlight Archive. I absolutely love this book. I love Dalinar, and if I could reread it, I would, for the first time. The ending is absolutely incredible. I love it so much. All right, and then we're gonna talk about Rhythm of War. I like Rhythm of War. It's probably my least favorite. I do love Navani, and I do love all of the science talk. I love it so much. But the other books have a beat. Just the other books have a beat. I do really like it though, and the ending is crazy. Okay, I said something and I had to cut it out because I can't include that as a spoiler. Lastly, we're gonna talk about my favorite book of the entire year, and one of my favorite books ever. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. I know, so much Sanderson, but this book is just absolutely incredible. It's my favorite book I've read in a long time. If this is a standalone, this is part of the Secret Projects. I'm gonna start by saying that I don't think this is a good place to jump into if you haven't read any other Cosmere books. There's gonna be a lot you're gonna miss. And they say you can read this if you haven't read anything else. I wouldn't recommend it. I would actually recommend reading this towards the end of your Cosmere reading. The thing I absolutely adore about this book is all of the artwork. It's printed in because I bought the Dragonsteel edition and it's just so gorgeous. I absolutely love it. What I really like about this is I love the connection between the two characters. I think it's just beautiful. I love the writing in it. He really, really dipped into that, like, more of a purple prose, I guess. He really dipped into that, and I think it was absolutely incredible. And when I talk about that, I'm comparing it to other Sanderson books. I don't really compare his books to other people's books just because it doesn't sit right with me. But essentially, we have Yumi, and she lives in a very religious environment. And Nightmare, he lives in a more modern life. They have TVs, they watch TV, they eat, they go to ramen shops, they hang out, they chill, they have phones, whatever. So one day, when Yumi wakes up, she's not in control of her body. Nightmare is. And she's just like astral projected outside of her body, and he's in control of her body. And then when he wakes up, she's like in his world, and she can like walk around and stuff. And you find out there's a connection there, and you know, the whole book is finding out what's going on. The back says, a person is more than their experiences stacked up like stones. Our best moments are the foundations we use to reach for the sky. And I just think that's beautiful. And I love this book, and I don't really have much else to say because I don't want to spoil anything for you. I just recommend that you read this book because I absolutely loved it. It's my favorite book I've read in a long time, and I'm literally trying to get my fiance. I'm like, if you could read any of the books I have on my shelf, I want it to be this one. But I also just told you that you shouldn't read you shouldn't read like this book before you read other Cosmere books. So like, I have to get him to read other things. I'm trying to get him to start The Way of Kings because I need somebody to yap about that with. So bad, I need somebody to yap about the Cosmere with because I'm losing my mind. But yeah, so thank you so much for hanging around. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to like and subscribe, comment, follow me on Instagram. Would love to have a conversation with you. I genuinely need somebody to yap with, so feel free to just comment and we'll have a conversation. I'm really, really, really grateful for all the 34 subscribers that I have. I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you so much. And watching my video just makes me so happy that there are people who actually want to sit and hear me yap and are willing to hang out with me for the hours that I film and upload. So thank you so much for hanging around. I'm so grateful. And yeah, see ya.